Ruth Roy will be our host, our Zoom host, and so he'll be muting you if you, get in the way of our great conversation with our panelists. At some point, if we get really crazy and it gets kind of like dry, we may open up the mics and let other people ask some questions. But during the course of this, if you do have questions, we want to encourage you to put them in the chat feature. We'll pull the chat feature, pull the questions from the chat feature and ask some of your questions as we get toward the end of our session this evening. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start off with some introductions of our panelists this evening. Once we do the introductions, I'm going to ask a few questions that I have planned, and then we'll open it up to the audience to ask questions that you have. And if we still have time, who knows what we'll do? We'll just make it up as we go. We'll do something to get more points. That's what we should do, is think about more points on the Whova app. So that being said, let me introduce to you our four panelists tonight. They've all are competitors, and they've all participated to win the District 56 contest and go on past that. Our first panelist is Akili Atkinson. Welcome, Akili. Our second panelist is Vikas Jhingran. Welcome,
hi, everyone.
Vikas. Glad to have you here this evening. Our third panelist is Kelly Sargeant. Hi, Kelly. And our fourth panelist is Yolanda Bonham. Welcome, Yolanda. All right. We have an excellent slate of panelists this evening. My name, for those who don't know me, is David Bell. I'm a Division Q director this year. I've been a Toastmaster for 30 years. As a matter of fact, I knew Lark Doley 30 years ago when I competed at the district level. So I was really inspired by her last session that we had. It was really good to see her. So tonight, let's do some introductions. Let's start with Akili. Akili, tell us a little bit about you.
I'm always happy that I go first because I get it over with. So AA, simple for me. I am Akili Atkinson, last year's 2020 Region 5 semifinalist. Since then, I am now the creator of Akili's Corner, a concept that had been rolling around in my head for years, but now has an opportunity to flourish where I get to help people with coaching and training, and also just doing some motivational speaking, which always brings me with my cohort, Yolanda, who I'm working with now to bring a concept of inclusion with autism to the forefront. So I am here, a lot of challenges and excitements in my life, but I'm glad to be here this evening.
Fantastic. We are so glad to have you here, and congratulations on your success this past year. I've been following you through social media. We don't know each other personally, but we really appreciate all your efforts and what you've done on behalf of yourself, but also representing District 56. Our next panelist is Vikas Jhingran. Vikas, tell us a little bit about you. You're on mute.
You can hear me now, I think.
I can hear you now.
I just wanted to thank everybody for this opportunity, particularly so humbled to be part of this panel tonight. I'm the 2007 World Champion of Public Speaking. I joined Toastmasters about 20 years ago. And in 2014, I wrote my first book, which was around inspired by my win in 2007, but talked a little bit about my approach to public speaking. I work for Shell, my day job, and have 2 kids here. So that's how I keep busy these days. But overall, try to get every opportunity to get up and speak. That's been the fundamental part of my speaking growth journey, is that you never turn a speech down, and you always raise your hand when there's an opportunity to speak. I did that when first day I came into Toastmasters, and I still do that right now. It is a full contact sport. You cannot learn by just listening. So I make sure that I have full contact on a weekly basis. As far as just having the opportunity to work with people, I do enjoy that. Various people approach me to help them with their speeches, both inside Shell and outside. And that is something that I take very seriously. I think communication in general is one of the areas that that allows us to lose value in general in the work that we do. I see that in the business that I work with every day, but I also see how relationships are impacted because of poor communication. I see how kids and parents don't always work together as well because of poor communication. I think it is a fundamental part of who we are, and improving that remains a focus area for me. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Vikas. I love that. The two children, do they have names?
Yeah, Akash and Soham. They are 11 and 9.
Are we going to see them tonight?
No, I don't think so. You might lose your whole workshop right here.
All right. Next up is Kelly Sargeant. Kelly, tell us about you.
Hi, everyone. I competed in 2014, made it all the way to the World Championship stage. I can't wait to share it with you. It was a dreadful experience, the most stressful I've ever been in my entire life. So I cannot wait to give you some feedback so you don't make the same mistakes I did. I didn't get to go as far as Vikas. Woohoo! Vikas champ in the house. But I will say it was all worth it. Every single night of no sleep and everything else I went through, because it's gotten me to where I am today. I am so fortunate to do the work that I do. During the day, I work for an international telecom company. I am a senior compliance officer and head of training and communications globally. And so I get to spend my almost 18 hours a day, unfortunately, right now, due to the pandemic and working as an international head of training and communications, talking to people like this. And I would have never been able to do it had I not gone through this process right here. I expected to be traveling and speaking and training and communicating in person. But this is a whole new challenge I've had to learn how to master and teach other people. And when I'm not doing that, I'm coaching during the evenings. I am an interview coach. I help people get the jobs of their dreams, and such as winning titles and pageantry. And I had a client the other day land a job at AWS. And so it feels great to help people find their confidence, because that's where it all begins. It's just finding your confidence to be able to express yourself and communicate and get comfortable in your own skin so you can go and get what you really want to get. So when I'm done coaching, I go back to work. So that's what I do. I love what I do, and I would not be able to do it had I not faced the fear of public speaking and joining Toastmasters. So that's my story.
Well said. Thank you so much, Kelly. Our next speaker or panelist is Yolanda Bonham. Yolanda, tell us about you.
It is difficult to see Kelly having any fear in public speaking. I just had to throw that out. So my name is Yolanda Bonham. I have been to the semifinals 4 times, believe it or not. And on that 4th wonderful time, I ended up taking first place in that semifinal and participating as one of the top 10 speakers in the World Champion of Public Speaking. Now you think I did not place at all in, during the top 3, but it completely changed my life. I hope I get an opportunity to tell you about that star spotlight moment where me and Kelly were walking around Canada and people were pointing at us and they knew us. And I was like, oh my God, I'm ready to go back to being ambiguous. It was crazy. So it was one of the most phenomenal opportunities that I had. Kelly was right there with me, sharing some of the things that she went through. Although my passion is public speaking, my day job pays the bills. I work for Shell along with Vikas, worked there for 25 years. I do a wide variety of things. I have a lot of hats. I'm a recruiter there, a D&I trainer there. I'm a recruitment focal point there, so I do quite a bit. In addition to coaching and speaking at Toastmasters clubs, I love also presenting. I love participating in a couple of platforms that I have out there. I participate in what's called Single Christian Conversations, where I speak with other single Christians. I dialogue with them about the single Christian journey and how to do it the right way. I also, as Akili mentioned, I participate with her on this wonderful journey we started as autistic moms, beautiful thing. And I am the single mom of a 24-year-old daughter, a 22-year-old son, and that awesome 12-year-old son that I have that is high-functioning autistic. And I am honored to share the virtual stage with these awesome speakers today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yolanda.
You're welcome.
So you see it, everyone. We have a great slate of panelists tonight. They've all been there. I know when I was early career Toastmasters, to me, if I got to the district level, that was it. But all of our panelists have passed the district level. So I want to learn from them tonight, and I hope there are questions and all you will learn from their experience as well. So here's my first question, and I'll ask this of Yolanda. How did you prepare? Just look at the district competition. How did you prepare for the district competition?
That's a trick question. Since I am the single mother of 3, and I've told a lot of people, my preparation for the area, division, and district are all the same. It is whatever time I can find as a single mother of 3 who does speaking on the outside, and I have a full-time job. I usually start maybe a day or 2 before the actual competition. I make sure I have my full speech written out, and then I began to practice it for time. Once I have it slotted for time, I never look at that speech again, and I began to naturally deliver that speech to a camera or to my kids. And I do so in a way where I'm comfortable giving the speech just like I'm talking to a friend, because that's my most comfortable platform, I would say, is speaking one-on-one with people, just like I'm doing right now. I do it that way, and I'm comfortable. If things come up, and they always do when I'm preparing, a kid will walk into the room, or a child will say, that wasn't funny, and I'll say, oh, yes, it was, and they will correct me and say, it may be funny to your age, Mom, but it's not funny to. I have those interruptions all the time. It helps me to tweak my speech. It helps me to adjust if there happens to be any sort of things that happen during the speech, and I don't get caught off guard if I happen to forget something. I did it completely different for the semifinal competition, and if you watch it, you will see that moment where I completely blanked out. There was a moment where I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be saying, but I picked up and I was able to keep going because of the way that I prepared for those competitions. So I invited a couple of coaches. They listened to it. People like Kelly, I got ideas from, we help each other. And of course, the journey has been absolutely amazing. So find what works for you. If you happen to be going, how can I do that? Some people learn differently. You may hear the panelists say that they do things just a little bit differently to prepare. For me, I gotta wait till right before. I do better that way. And I practice it until I have it in my head, and then I deliver it naturally.
So it's interesting that you say time. You start with the time. I know for myself, I've gone overtime in a competition, and there's nothing worse, absolutely nothing worse than going overtime in a competition, because we know better, right? So starting there and then using that to.
Some people have missed it by a matter of seconds. At the World Champion of Public Speaking level, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I've heard stories where they have missed placing possibly.
Yeah,
Seconds.
It's a big deal. It can disqualify you automatically.
Absolutely.
All right. How about you, Kelly? What was your secret for training or preparing for the district level contest?
Now that's a trick question. The district level, my experience was much different than I would say maybe most, only because I was dealing with a really tough speech. My speech was about something very controversial, very taboo. My topic was about a trauma as a child, being a victim of sexual assault. And so my speech changed dramatically from the moment I gave it at the club, where it was so deep and so heavy. People were like uncomfortable. They were really quiet and they couldn't breathe. And so every step of the way, I learned how to change it so it could be a little more palatable. To my surprise, I did continue to win, but it was because of people like Yolanda said, and Javier, and Rod White, the late Rod White, and Jan Paskowski, and Linda Madura. There's so many great, mentors that I've had along the way that helped me tweak it, crafting the speech so it was lighter And so it was tough. It was really tough getting all the way to district because of the topic. And to my surprise, I did win. It was very quiet, even though I lightened it up all along the way. It was still heavy, but it was important to me to share my truth and to share my story and to speak up and just deliver the message that was on my heart. So I pushed through it. And the biggest takeaway I'd have to say is take the advice of others that are trying to help you craft a message. However, take what fits for you so you can keep your authenticity and stay true to yourself and share what's on your heart. So you'll get a lot of recommendations from different people along the way, but just stick to what's true to you so that way you can feel comfortable. But it's important to consider your audience, not leave them on a down, but to bring them back up. And so I took the audience on a roller coaster ride at district. And what can I say? I ended up winning second runner-up world champion because I shared that story that helped me win the semifinals in Kuala Lumpur.
Wow, that's incredible. You know, it reminds me, my very first Toastmaster meeting, I saw Doc Stewart, who's a former world champion. He's passed away now. And I just remember that speech. He made me cry and he made me laugh in the same speech. I mean, that same emotional roller coaster that you're talking about. And that is an important ingredient to a good speaker or to a good speech. Vikas, how about you? What got you to the district level? Because most of us, we're just trying to get there. I mean, if we can get there, we feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting story. This was 2007. The year before that, I had actually reached the regionals. And so, you know, there was general expectation that I'll do well at the district level. So I started and I, you know, it was one of those years where, you know, the speech was not happening. It wasn't very clear at the club level. And it was all not coming together. So I asked my mentor at that time, her name was Mary Maloney. And I said, hey, Mary, I need some competition because at the club level, I really didn't have, I was alone in the competition. So I said, hey, Mary, why don't you compete against me? Because it'll help me improve. And, you know, the speech will become better because it's not there yet. And so we go into the club level and we have the competition and lo and behold, Mary beats me. So here I am, you know, I'm stuck. I lost at the club level. And so then I go, so I was a member of 2 clubs. So I go to the second club. The second club is more of an advanced level club. So they meet only once a month. They usually don't have competition. So I go and talk to the president. I said, hey, president, are you having a competition this year? He said, we're thinking about it. We're not sure. No. You need to have a competition, Mr. President. We need to have a competition this year. So that's how actually I basically competed in that club and eventually won, and then went on to the area level. At the area level, I had a very strong competitor. She actually, the year after that, 2008, went to the World Championship herself. Extremely strong speaker. And we had competed very closely in the past few years. And there I find out, I did win the area, of course, but I found out that it was actually a tiebreaker. So somebody broke a tie to get me to win. And so, you know, a lot of people come back and, you know, always come back and tell me, hey, you know, how do you feel? You know, you must be so, you know, feel so great that you won the World Championship. I said, no, I just feel fortunate. You know, there is a strong element of luck that goes with the element of skill for you to be able to reach at that level. So anybody who gets beyond district is a fantastic speaker, right? They have all the skills, and then it takes a little bit of luck for you to get a little bit further on, and you know, eventually you get very fortunate and win the World Championship. But that's a very interesting story. So I almost didn't make it in 2007. But
wow. That's a great story. Just one, it's on any given day, right?
It is.
One speaker could outperform the other.
Yeah, and I think that's an important piece of advice for everybody listening. You know, people get disheartened. You know, sometimes they're very close race, you know, competitions, and you feel you should have done a little bit better, or you know, maybe you did better than the person who actually won. I wouldn't worry about that. Did you grow during that process? And that's the most important thing that you can get out of any competition. If you're a better speaker than when you started, competing that year, you've done your job. Leave the rest to fate, essentially, right? But worry about the growth part. That is in your hands.
All right. So who do we still have left? Who I not asked this question to? Yolanda.
No, Yolanda answered, I haven't.
Okay, Keith. I noticed I went backwards and forwards. And I'm like, where am I? Akili. Still at the district level. Getting to that district level, what did you do to prepare?
I want to say that's a trick question. I'm not sure why, but it seems like something I'm supposed to say. So that's a trick question. Let me tell you, my journey was very interesting. For those of you who don't know, I'm rather tall, 5'11", and 6'2" when I wear my heels, which I do proudly. And I use that on the stage. I use it when I walk. I make sure my presence is felt, and it is part of who I am as a speaker. So I went confidently into last year's competition with my shoulders back and my coin that I was going to use as a prop, which I normally didn't do, and promptly won at the club level. And then went on to the area level with this bright colored orange top that I walked across the stage. And then a pandemic hit. And they told me that you will not be doing this the same way. And I said, well, wait a minute. Part of what I do, who I am, is my presence when I walk across the stage. You're telling me we're doing this on Zoom? I don't know how to do this. I don't do Zoom. I don't come across the same way. And so I began to reach out to any and everybody that I could and say, help me figure out how to make the compact big again. And I had many people along the way that guided me and helped me in my messaging. And then I was fortunate enough to go back to my first club in Oklahoma, Early Risers Toastmasters, home of Dave Ross, a former world champion, who says to me, you've got this. I don't know that I could have driven the 8 hours to give that speech at that club. These are people I hadn't seen in 6 years, so it was so good to reconnect. And through a pandemic and everyone telling me I'd have to go into this box, I started to branch out further than I ever had. My younger brother who lives in the Netherlands had never heard me speak, and I gave it to not only him, but some of his professors that he hangs out with. I prepared by being uncomfortable, by going into arenas and areas that I wasn't familiar with. I prepared by realizing I'm more than my height. I'm more than who I thought I was walking across the stage. I am my message. I am my voice, I am my words. I prepared by sitting in a house by myself in a pandemic and getting to know once again who I am. And after that, I came out stronger than I had before, finding this incredible level that said, I'm not arrogant. I'm even past confidence. I'm just who I am now, and I can share that everywhere I go. So that's how I prepared.
Yeah, so what I get out of that,
beautiful.
really growth comes from being uncomfortable. I like that.
Love it.
If you're comfortable, you're not growing. I've heard that before too.
Yes.
Good for you. So here's a question for you, Vikas. How did you prepare differently after the district competition?
Is that for me? Oh.
For Vikas.
Yeah, so actually after my district, I had a speech that I had used to win the district the year before. So that was in 2006, and everybody was asking me to keep that speech for the World Championships. It's actually called Postcard, and it's actually a fantastic speech. But I told everybody, well, I need to first get to the World Championships, then we'll talk about it. So I ended up actually using that speech in the regional. So at that time, you needed 3 speeches to win the World Championship. So that was the second speech. I don't know whether that's still the same or not. I know for a while they changed it to 2 speeches. But that's what I did. So I actually had a prepared speech. I mean, actually, regionals was very easy for me. I didn't have to do much. The speech was polished. It was done. I just did a lot of practicing, of course. Made sure that the message came across. Spoke in various different venues in front of different crowds than my typical clubs. I find that, I think, Akili, I agree with you. You have to make yourself uncomfortable because the forum that you'll be in front of in a regional or anything beyond district will be people that you don't really know. And you need to be able to be yourself, be very comfortable for you to be able to connect and be in the moment. So it's very important for you to put yourselves in situations that make you a little uncomfortable and see how you respond. And that's an important part of preparing for the speech. So I tell you the truth, the regionals was actually the easy part for me.
Wow. Well, Kelly, how about you? What did you do differently after the district contest to prepare?
Well, I hired a coach.
What an idea.
Yes, I hired a coach, David Brooks from Texas.
I know David Brooks.
Yes, David. So David helped me write a speech, take my speech and perfect it even more. One of the things that I did do is I gave up the speech for a little while. I gave up the speech and I tried to do something different. But 2 weeks before leaving for Kuala Lumpur, I decided to go back to my original speech because actually, I sent it to Yolanda first, I think it was. Yolanda helped lighten up that speech as much as she could. And then I sent it to David, and David was like, whoa, so much better, because he really didn't know what to do with it. So it was a process of continuing to lighten it up a bit, add some humor. But I began to tour Houston and visit different clubs and give the speech and practice and get feedback, do round robins. So if you are competing or you're trying to compete, it is a great idea to volunteer to be the test speaker of a competition, especially the evaluation competition, because you can get all sorts of perspectives. You can go to the advanced clubs and practice your speech and listen to their suggestions for improvement. And just like I said earlier, just when you're collecting all of your different suggestions, take what's you and get rid of the rest and just make it yours. So that's what I did to prepare for the next stage is I took advantage of the opportunity to speak at different clubs and get feedback and continue to perfect it and practice along the way.
So I hear getting a coach is important, but also hear getting lots of feedback. And I have been that speaker who at the district level who got the evaluation contest a few years ago. When 7 people tell you the same thing, it's kind of hard to dispute them. So that's a great experience if you ever get a chance to do that. So Akili, I'm going to ask you this question. What is your biggest takeaway from competing in the International Speech Contest? What did you learn from the experience?
One of the things that I learned being very, very competitive is there is a difference between wanting to demolish your competition and wanting to demolish the words that they're saying. I remember sitting and listening to the speeches that were going to beat me. I'm like, well, that's amazing. Well, this is amazing. And at the end of listening to all of these amazing speeches, I was like, this doesn't take away from anything that I did. There's words that were amazing also. And it took competition a different direction for me. So no longer will I go in saying, I need to get everything out of this and get to another place. I don't need to be first place. I need to figure out that those speeches, everybody's work has some value to it. So instead of just being in my head during a speech, I want to listen to what they're saying also, because there's where you can get your next speech from. The speeches I've heard along the way. Well, if you're actually listening, you can say that. So I think I took away so many different friends and so many different moments that I think that you just have to enjoy this rather than fight it as if you were going to war, because it is a battle when you're out there. It's a lot of work, and you have to have some time to say, some other things are amazing, and so let me listen to some other speeches. Those are amazing, and just get out of your head. And I did want to say one thing about the evaluations. I have evaluation cards from when I was a beginning Toastmaster, and after district, I went back to those and saw what people said about me in the very beginning when I first started Toastmasters. And some of those quirks and things that they talked about, they were still there. And so I took those in. These were people who hadn't heard me or seen me in a long time. And I took those in, and it was a very interesting moment. And it was a wonderful reflection time of my time over Toastmasters and my growth. So it was a twofold. It just took me back. So
that is such a great point too, because I've been in some clubs here recently where they just give the verbal evaluation, and because we're in this Zoom environment, they skip the written evaluation. But the written evaluation is what you will remember because it's in writing. Yeah, so that's a great point, great tip. And so encourage your evaluators to give it to you in writing. Yeah, that's great. Yolanda, what's your biggest takeaway from competing at the International Speech Contest?
At the international level, you will find that, man, the competition is crazy at that level. But what you'll also find is they are just like you and I. They're just people in their own designated districts that have made it one step over where they ended up. They're just people. They're just people. Mm-hmm. When I was preparing for my semifinal, I ended up being number 7 of the 10. Now, of course, people are going, oh, because they were saying that 7 was not the best number because you're right in the middle. And I still remember the young lady that got last, and I know her today, so I'll just go ahead and say, she was walking around bragging, saying, I got this is it, I'm gonna win first place, I'm the last one that everybody's gonna see, hey, and she was going around high-fiving all of the people that were in our particular heat. And I was sitting there during my competition, the hurricane was hitting, I don't even want to say, but the hurricane was hitting in 2017 at exactly the same time as I was stepping on that semifinal stage. The hurricane was headed to Houston. So I'm on the phone talking to my kids while my kids are telling me come back home from Canada while a hurricane is on the way. And I had to hear this woman saying, I'm gonna win, while I'm smack dab in the middle of all these individuals. The one thing that I learned was to be unapologetically, authentically Yolanda. I wasn't interested in competing against them. I was interested always in stepping on a stage and motivating, inspiring, encouraging, and entertaining people. If I can do that, I am a winner. I don't care if I walk away with a little trophy. It doesn't really matter to me stepping on the stage, believe it or not, if I win. Now, that is just my why. My why will always be, I want to inspire people. I want people to forget about their ails and their woes and what's going on. I want to make them laugh. I want to make them grateful and thankful for life and the things that are in their life. I want that. That is what I want when I step on the stage. So when I stepped on that stage, that is all that I wanted to do. I wanted to make them laugh. I wanted to inspire them. I wanted to encourage them. I want people 20 years from now to look back and say, man, I remember what you said when you stepped up on that stage. And I still have people that remember things that I did 10 years ago. People remember when I was Moses. If you don't know what that is, You should probably be happy. But when I say Moses, a lot of people know who that is. When I talk about the doctor that I did when I did the Tall Tales, a lot of people know who that is. To me, that is my trophy, is when I could walk away and inspire people. I can motivate people. I can make people remember who I am. That is the main reason why I do it. And that's the biggest takeaway for me, is being unapologetically Yolanda, and for people to want Yolanda over anything else.
That's awesome. I've gotten to know you a little bit this year, and Yolanda is a special person. So that's a good person to know. Here's a quick question. So this one's like 5-second kind of question. All right. So everybody is going to get it. Who's influenced you the most as a speaker? We'll go with you, Kelly. You're on my top left-hand screen. I'll go with you first, and then I'll go to Yolanda. All four of you can turn off your mic so we can speed through this question.
Someone other than influenced me most? Gosh.
As a speaker.
Sorry, I can't think of the person has been me, the maturing and becoming a better person, realizing what's really important. It's not about me, it's about my audience. I'm sorry. So just maturing and finally realizing the importance and why I'm there.
Yeah, awesome. Good for you. Yolanda?
Yolanda said.
This is the short answer, the short version, Yolanda.
LaShonda Rundles, big time. She was my mentor before she passed away. That's it. She was unapologetically her. That's it. She stepped on the stage, and if you've seen her speech back in 2008, it was about being you and not being afraid to succeed. She said most of us, that's our fear, is being afraid to go beyond what we thought we possibly could. So she will always be that speaker that I look up to. She was herself on that stage. She walked away with that trophy because she was herself.
That's awesome. Vikas, how about you?
I'd say Mary Maloney. She was a friend, a writer, a coach, and you know, even though she didn't end up winning any trophies or didn't even win the district, but you have to find somebody that you can work with who thinks at your level, and you can go back and forth, and that allows you to explore yourselves a little bit better. So, you know, the short answer is I'll say Mary Maloney.
Awesome. Yolanda, we have yours. Kelly, we have yours. Akili, we don't have yours.
I'm beginning to get hurt, Dave. Really?
Twice.
Fine. Just saying.
It's me, it's not you.
It's because I'm not standing and you don't know my height. I would say my short answer would be Dave Ross, but in encompassing the early riser Toastmasters in Oklahoma City, who taught me the true fundamentals of Toastmasters. From there, I can craft who I wanted to become, so then it would come to me, but they really believe in fundamentals, and it taught me the foundation of a good speaker. That's who did it.
It's a simple formula, really. I mean, Toastmasters does an incredible job of giving you all the tools you need to do, but to be a good speaker, but then having those people that you're surrounded with who remind you and encourage you and all this key. That's awesome. So I'm going to put a pause here for our audience. If you have a question you want to ask, this would be the time to put it in the chat. I see the chat is pretty active. Roop, I will need you to remind me of what our next session is as we close out here in a few minutes, because I didn't write that down. And I know we have a session after this, and I know we want to encourage people to attend that as well. So if you could help me with that. But my question for the group is this: how has your life changed as a result of competing? I'll let you go randomly. Akili, let's start with you.
I can go quickly. It's changed because I'm changed. And there's a lot of things that happen in my life that contribute to that. And this is one of them. Toastmasters allows you to grow and opens you up to this person that you sometimes couldn't think that you could become. I became a better speaker when I opened up the humorous manual way back then, and I realized that I wasn't funny. And the manual still was there, and it told me I needed to be funny. And I told it I'm not funny. And it told me, as soon as you finish this manual, you'll be funny. Now pay attention. And I finished the manual. And 2 years ago, I got on stage and did a stand-up comedy act. Now, my daughter was the only one there because I wanted to assure that I would get a laugh, but that wasn't the point. I could do it, I could stand up because Toastmasters gave me the power to say, it doesn't matter if you're funny, just only bring your daughter and someone will laugh.
I love it. Oh, that humorous speech manual. We have that in Pathways too. That is one of the more challenging ones, I know. Kelly, how about you? What has changed for you as a result of competing?
I think the biggest one was my self-confidence. Because I thought I had to be perfect. So I waited and waited, and I was petrified and having anxiety attacks. I wanted to have every single word memorized. I thought I had to have the perfect speech. And so I learned that you don't have to have the perfect speech. You know what I mean? You don't have, whatever you do, you don't have to have it memorized, especially if you're not competing. And just to stop getting ready to get ready and just do it. Because I put myself out there, because I faced the fear, if you guys would just take the opportunity, look at it as a chance, the golden opportunity to get suggestions from improvement from people who are just like you. You know, they're there for the same exact reasons. It's so much better than on-the-job training. But just, step out of your comfort zone, raise your hand, volunteer at every single meeting for any role, whether it's for a functionary or a speaker. Just get up there and increase your confidence, because all of those, we like to call them gifts, as you know. The feedback that you'll get, those little slips that Akili talked about, that's what helps you improve. You get to use those gifts to try again, and then you make those improvements, and you do it again and again and again. And with every single speech, every single time you put yourself in that uncomfortable moment, your confidence begins to rise and rise and rise and rise. And then you start believing in yourself. And then your self-esteem starts to rise, and you start to believe that you can do things that you never thought you can do before. So the biggest thing for me is it helped me grow significantly and belief in myself that I could and that I was worth something. Self-confidence, self-worth, that I had a purpose, that I could give back, because you learn to speak from your heart instead of from your head. So to all of you out there who want to compete, jump into it, go get your gifts so you can do what you really want to do.
That's awesome. It makes me want to go give a speech right now. Like right now. What's neat about all of you is I can feel the emotion. I can feel the connection as you're speaking this evening. And that's the connection that you look for. It really is. Yolanda, how about you? What changed for you after competing?
Jim Key tells you right before you compete that you are no longer just a number in the crowd, regardless of how well you do during the World Champion of Public Speaking once you get past semifinal. I did not believe him. He's one of my mentors. I know him personally. I still didn't believe him. I was like, yeah, whatever, So when you don't place, you assume your life will go back to you just being a number in the crowd out of that 1,000+ set of individuals. And when Kelly, I gotta bring this up, Kelly Sargeant and I went to the mall. We just going to the mall. We going shopping. We looking for some shoes. We just looking just to hang out. And I had been hanging out with her a couple of times during that conference in 2017. I was used to people coming up to her and saying, "Oh my God, Kelly, you remember you?" Asking for her signature but I was not used to them doing that to me. So now we at the mall looking for shoes, and people are coming up to me. And hey, oh my God, yeah, that was you, right? That was you had on the purple coat. Nobody else had on a coat that was purple. You were the only one that had on colors. I mean, I'm like, have mercy. So one of One of the things that changed for me is I was not just a face in the crowd. It was overwhelming. It was crazy. I was like, I want to do that again. I want to do that again and again and again and again, where people know me. But then on the other hand, I was like, oh my gosh, I never want to do that again and again. I don't want people to know me when I'm walking. I can't even walk down the street without people knowing me. So there was this, man, I was going back and forth between, man, this is cool. I feel like a rock star. And, oh my God, people, leave me alone. We could not go 7 feet in that mall without people stopping us, walking down the street without people stopping us. That was the most awesome moment for me. We in Canada. It's not like we in Houston. We're in Canada. It's a whole nother country in Vancouver, near the water, where it's good air. Cold, good, crisp air, not like Houston. And people knew us. So for me, that's the experience that I take away. That was the most amazing thing. And I love walking into meetings where people still don't know me, because that was overwhelming. But it's a beautiful thing about people knowing you, because that means you impacted them. And for me, that was the best thing ever.
That's awesome. And if you're an introvert, that could be very challenging.
I'm not an introvert. I'm an introverted extrovert. So it was okay. I was fine.
Vikas, how about you? What changed for you?
Yeah, so I'm a strong introvert. So when I walk in, I could be in a 2-hour celebration and not say a word. That's absolutely fine with me. So when people who I went to school with learned that I won the world championship, really, he won the world. Very difficult for me to help people understand that I actually won this thing. For me, what changed actually, it's very interesting. I mean, when you win the world championship, there's a sense of responsibility that you don't really understand before you start competing. I was the same guy, not that I'd suddenly become much more intelligent or what I was saying made a lot more sense. Yet people started to write notes, everything that I said was taken like as gospel truth. These are things that you begin to understand that what you're saying is important for some people. And therefore there is a sense of responsibility. I mean, you start being careful about what you say, about how you interact with people, because they take it very personally. I can't remember how many times I've been at a conference and somebody came up to me and just shook my hand and say, thank you, Vikas, you made me believe, right? And that's very uncomfortable in a sense, because it's a lot of responsibility, and you really don't understand that till you actually win or get to that stage. And you have to take it very seriously, I think. We then become ambassadors of not only just Toastmasters, but speakers in general. So whenever I stand up and speak, I'm speaking for every engineer, because we just have a really bad reputation on our communication skills, right? I'm speaking for anybody who's a non-native speaker. People are being judged all over the world because of how I show up when I stand up and speak. And that changes your perspective. It changes you. It makes you realize that people are impacted by your actions and by what you say. And I think that weighs on you. It's incredible. You feel really blessed that you have that responsibility. But I think it also changes the way you show up in front of people.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the responsibility carries with you wherever you go. And I've heard you speak before, and I hope I'm not in trouble, but I was taking lots of notes. I'm like, this is good stuff. Where else can you get this stuff? This is great. Well, I've been looking in the chat and I'm not seeing a lot of questions. And questions are those things that end in a question mark. And so what I'm going to do, unless you see something, Ruth, that I'm missing, I'm going to skip over to our app. So the Whova app has the questions for the panelists. And I'd encourage the panelists, even after this evening, go this weekend and look at the app, and encourage you to respond to some of these questions on the app. But one of the questions was, Do you study other speakers to help improve your speaking style or content? Who would like to answer that? Okay, go ahead, Kelly.
No, I don't. When it was time to speak at the semifinals in Kuala Lumpur, people were texting me and calling me saying, Kelly, oh my God, do you see who you're competing against? They have been there before, because they categorize you in 10. So you get to see the other 9 people you're competing against. And I decided not to, because I didn't want to get in my head. I didn't want to be self-conscious and insecure. I didn't want to be comparing myself against anyone. I focused on me, developing me and becoming the absolute best that I can be. I'm tunnel vision. I'm being my best. I want to think about my message, what I have to say, who I'm trying to help, how can I help the people? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, this is not a speech. This is an opportunity for me to help the people that I'm in front of. I have a message I got to deliver. I can't be thinking about them. I got to focus on my message. What do I want this platform of people to know? I got to pour it out to them, just give it to them to try to help them. So absolutely not. I don't even watch myself, because I can't stand to stomach watching how animated I am. I probably blinked like 1,000 times just in this 1 minute. But no, I do not watch other people. I focus on becoming my best and perfecting my message and how I'm going to just touch the hearts of the people, what I could give them to help them at what they're trying to achieve. That's my answer, no.
I like it. Anybody have a contrasting view?
I can say one thing different, because I pulled first. So I had an opportunity to watch everybody because I went first, and it gave me a different perspective, but it also taught me not to put myself next to somebody else. So I didn't think about, oh, this person is better than me this way. This person is amazing for this person, but you can't do me better than I do me. I'm going to do the best me. And if the best me is what you're looking for, then that's going to win. Now, I will say, after the competition, I was most upset that I was like, but I had more people I want to tell that speech to. I just wanted to tell more people. So Kelly, when you said that, I'm thinking, yes, I had more people to tell. If I had followed that path, you know how many people would have heard my message. It was good. I wanted to tell them. And that was what I was upset about. I was like, I want to tell more people. But after this, if you guys want to hear it again, no, I'm just joking.
I have another question. I like this. It says, how do you deal with nerves when you're competing at a high level of competition? Who wants to take that?
Nerves
How do you deal with the nerves?
Normal. Listen to me, people. I do a session on this. Nerves are normal. That's a normal part of speaking. You're responding to the unknown. You're responding to the people out in the crowd. Are they going to like me? Am I going to mess up? Do I have spinach in my teeth? How does my hair look? You're responding to the unknown. So nerves are so normal. Once you understand that nerves are normal, you can get past the fact that I'm going to have nerves and just focus on giving the best speech, the best way that you can as the best you. So expect the nerves, whether I'm in front of 1 or 1,000. The nerves are exactly the same. When there were 10,000 people watching me, the nerves were exactly the same.
Wow, good message.
I'll actually add to that. I think that's a fantastic message that Yolanda said. Just to build on that, I think being nervous actually is a very selfish thing to do, because like Yolanda said, you're basically thinking about yourself. You're thinking how you would look bad and what people will think about you. And as soon as you change your perspective to that, it's not about me. And I think Kelly said that so well earlier in this talk, that as soon as you change your perspective, that it's not about me, it's about my audience and the people around me, I think your nerves will begin to go down, because you begin to realize that, if you mess up, people don't even remember 10 minutes out. It's only you carry it with you. Nobody else remembers. And so just change your perspective, think of it that it's not about you, right? And stop being selfish and think about others, and you'll do fine. That's
a great message, because it really is. I think a lot of times, especially new speakers, we're in our head, right? And really it's the audience you're trying to make the connection with, not yourself.
Yeah.
So that's,
You know,
that's a great.
And I want to add for people out there on the call who are afraid to speak at work, this is one of the best things that you can do is take this advice here and don't look at it as a presentation and start, and just to help you in the work that you do daily. You have been asked to deliver a presentation for a reason, because you are the subject matter expert. Your boss or whoever has delegated you to do this, they trust you. They know that you are able to coach and advise and teach and inform or inspire or whatever it is. So just stop looking at it as a presentation and just think about what these people need that are there to listen to you. And as soon as you change your perspective and you teach them what they need to know and they're writing it down, you've given something valuable. So in the work that you do every day, just remember, I'm here to help these people, and my boss entrusted in me. So let me give these people what they need so they can succeed at their jobs.
Fantastic. Well, I'm encouraged. We're at the 7 o'clock hour and we're supposed to wind this up at 7:05. And Ruth hasn't given me the red signal, but I know it's 7 o'clock. Here's what I'm going to ask. If you look in the chat, I put a message in there for all of our participants that are in the meeting this evening. Now he's going to give me the red. I put a feedback or a survey that we would like for you to complete. And I know we completed a lot of surveys, but it gives us some feedback as they're planning for the conference next year. And I want to hear good marks, obviously, but this is really about what has your experience been this evening during this session. And with that, I'm going to just give us some tidbits of encouragement on our public speaking going forward. And I'll start with you, Kelly. Just in closing statement, some encouragement for our listeners.
Stop sitting around at your club meetings. Get up and be proactive. Just participate so you can progress in what you're trying to do. Become proactive and active.
Proactive and active. I love that. I may invite you to one of my clubs and ask you to give that in a 5 to 7 minute speech. Okay, Yolanda?
Do not focus on being perfect. Don't do it. Kelly, stop rolling your eyes. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't worry about being perfect. Y'all, I messed up during my semifinal and I was able to recover and still win first place. So I think that everybody thinks, man, I need to be perfect to be like them. No, you don't. We all have our flaws. We are not perfect. The journey that we had that gave us that place to the top, again, it started with us just being ourselves at the club, giving a speech. So start with those speeches at the club level. And as Kelly said, practice, 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 be you, and you too can end up at those higher levels. I can't name the number of people who got up to those levels on their first time, just being them. So just be you and don't worry about being perfect. Just be you.
I love it. I love it. Vikas.
I'll just like to leave the audience with a final thought that you have everything it takes actually to give a fantastic speech, to be able to change lives. Because really communication and speaking is more about the human interaction. You're born with that skill, the emotional aspect that allows for a speech to be spectacular. And so essentially what needs to happen more is not that you need to learn the art of speaking. You need to unlearn some of the things that you've learned in just the society around us that stops you from being yourself, from being able to connect with people emotionally. As soon as you're able to get rid of that baggage that is around you, you're able to be in the moment and be emotionally connected to the people around you, you will automatically deliver a fantastic speech. So believe that you have everything that it takes to deliver a fantastic speech. All we are asking, or what we are trying to do, is to be able to be in that moment, to be comfortable, to be able to connect with people emotionally. And that's where all the practice comes in with Toastmasters, for you to get rid of that baggage and to get to that to that raw self that you are. And when you bring that self to the table, you then automatically deliver a fantastic speech. So just believe that you have everything that it takes to be a very, very good speaker.
Thank you, Vikas. Akili, bring us home.
Toastmasters develops their programs for everyone, not just one person, not a specific type of person, for everyone around the world. So Toastmasters was designed for you. Your qualities, the things that you can do well, the things that you need to improve so that you can become a better speaker. Toastmasters created it for you, created it for me and my purpose, for you and your purpose. You may not ever become a world champion of public speaking. You may just dip your toe on the club level stage, but it was for something. And Toastmasters has that designed for you. Enjoy the ride that Toastmasters gives you. Enjoy the camaraderie, the communication that you develop with so many different people, because that's what this is all about. And it's designed for you.
I like it. Well, that will take you to your next session this evening, folks. We really appreciate all of our panelists. You can come on screen, yell, scream, thank them. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us tonight. I did put in the chat the next session and encourage you to attend that. And with that being said, this session is adjourned.
Thank you for David for hosting us. You did a great job.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, David. Good night, everyone.
Good to see everyone. Have a good evening.
Good night.